Hello, Gemster community, and welcome back to another segment here on Gems Podcast. It's your girl, Miss Genesis Amaris Kemp, the host, and with me today is Robert Graves. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about who Robert is, and he is no stranger. He's been on the show before, and I'm welcoming him back. So, Robert P. Graves is an acclaimed author and corporate project manager based in Buffalo, New York. After overcoming personal struggles, including undiagnosed bipolar depression and the challenges of coming out, he discovered the power of forgiveness and self acceptance. Now, through his writing, Graves helps young readers develop emotional resilience and conflict resolution skills that last a lifetime. So, without further ado, I want to welcome the man behind it all, Robert Graves.
Thank you so much for having me again. I'm so thrilled to be with you.
My pleasure, Robert, and I know you're no stranger, so I want to ask you a icebreaker since last time we did the rapid fire, if I'm not mistaken. So I want you to share something that you have done recently that was crazy from the outside looking in, but it actually built your character.
Oh, that's a good question. What did I do? I lead a pretty boring life. Um, wow. I wrote two books. I mean, that's why we're here. I wrote two children's books. And that's about the biggest thing that I can say that I've done since the last time we spoke.
Okay, and that's amazing because books are filled with knowledge and lots of connections based on how the kids read it, how they dissect it, and etc. And I feel like you can never have enough children's books because that's how they learn.
No, there's such a huge market for books, excuse me. It's growing leaps and bounds. And I really felt that there was something in that market that was missing. There's there's the Caterpillar book and all of the great top, New York Times bestseller, but there wasn't a lot of books about forgiveness and life skills. And I want to fill that void.
And that's what we're going to dive into, like forgiveness and life skills. So your book is Molly's Big Red Kite. Can you hold up the book for those who are
I
on
sure
video?
can.
So for those of you, you can see the beautiful artwork on the book. And I want you to talk about the artwork because just looking at the kite almost looks like a red ladybug.
You know what? It is a red ladybug. Um, I wanted, and this is my great niece Molly, uh, who is near and dear to my heart. So the book is kind of after her, and this is a picture of her in her ladybug Halloween costume that I gave to the illustrator, and this is what she created.
Oh, wow. So, okay. So that's your great niece. And how did she feel whenever she saw herself on the cover of your book?
Well, I sent her a picture of the cover when we first decided on the final cover,
Mhm.
and um, Krista, my niece, showed it to her, and she looked at it, and she looked at her mom, and she looked at it again. She's like, "That's me," because she's only 2.5,
Oh,
so she understands that the book is about her, and she just loves it. She reads it every night. Now that it's out, and she just loves it.
I want to dive into there. And then so it's Molly's and then you see the ladybug, you see the kite, and I want you to kind of I see a is that an owl flying
Yeah,
there?
this
Okay.
is this is Mr. Oslo.
Okay.
And Mr. Oslo is a wise old owl that teaches the kids about forgiveness. After Lucas, who's not on the cover, Lucas actually breaks the kite by mistake, and Molly gets angry. And Molly doesn't understand the feeling of anger, and she doesn't know what to do with it. So Mr. Oslo flies down and teaches the kids about how to manage their feelings and all about forgiveness.
So let's pause there and dive in. So managing their feelings, and then forgiveness, because forgiveness, sometimes people say, oh, you forgive somebody, but it's not necessarily for the other person, but it's for you to move on. Would you agree with that sentiment, or what's your perspective on forgiveness?
I absolutely agree with you 100%. It is about yourself. And forgiveness is yes, it is about forgiving the other person, but it's not letting them off the hook, right? Uh, it is for yourself and letting yourself not harbor that ill will or that bad feeling for the rest of your life that can gnaw at your stomach and cause future problems if you harbor that ill will and you don't forgive.
And see, as adults, like, and I'm going to be guilty of this. Sometimes it's hard to forgive that person. So if we as adults have a hard time learning how to forgive another person, how can we help children learn to forgive whenever we're still struggling with it ourselves? Because sometimes you may want to forgive that person, but to get to that forgiveness part, you just want that person to acknowledge what they did and apologize, and they may never acknowledge it or they may never apologize. So you're still harboring some of that. And sometimes to try to suppress it, but then whenever that one little incident comes up, something triggers you and you get all mad over again. And I feel that's part of us being human. So let's talk about that, because we need to.
You're spot on. You are so right. But you know what? This book says it's 3 to 7 year old, but it is for a child, it is for an adolescent. But you know what? It's also for an adult. I had a colleague um, who read the book to his daughter, and he's like, I actually learned something about myself. And I was really angry at someone, and I realized by reading your book that I needed to forgive them because it's not doing me any good. It's not doing my health any good to harbor resentment and not forgive. So, forgiveness is freedom, and forgiveness, I believe, is peace.
I like that. Forgiveness is freedom, and you believe it's peace. And when you let that go, you can kind of see how things freely flow. So, what are some principles you put in the book to kind of walk the younger folks through the art of forgiveness and owning that life skill?
Well, we talk about the fact that forgiveness is for you
Uh-huh.
and not for the other person, right? And we talk about how anger can manifest into not at this level. In the next book, in the 7 to 11 year old book that's coming out, in the companion that I don't have a picture of because it got delayed. Um, but in the 7 to 11 year old book, we start talking about feelings and how we really need to manage our feelings, and that we are just carrier pigeons, if you will, for our feelings. And we can cage them up or we can set them free. I always choose to set my feelings free because in writing my memoir, if you recall, I went through some traumatic experiences. And at the end of the writing of the book, I actually kind of went into a deep, I cried for 2 days, I'll be honest, because all of that emotion of writing came
Mm-hmm.
out because I was harboring, I didn't realize I was harboring resentment towards people
Mm.
that hurt me when I was 9 years old.
Wow. And that's very real. And I like that you said that you you were writing it, so you were expressing yourself, but then you also cried, which was cleansing because you're freeing yourself from some of that resentment you had from 9 years ago. And you probably suppressed that so long that it wasn't
Mhm.
until you started putting the pen to the paper or typing on the keyboard that you started to just like free yourself, and it was just flowing out. And then while it was flowing out of you, it was also flowing out of you, not just written format, but emotionally too. Would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. It was so cathartic to write that book. And I don't want, that's why I'm so passionate about this project, is because I don't want kids to go through what I went through as a 44-year-old man coming to terms with something that happened to me when I was 9 years old. That's just ridiculous. We need to teach our kids the life skills to manage their anger, manage their feelings, and manage their friendships in a way that they can talk open and honestly about their feelings and really let things go when they happen.
So, when you say help kids talk openly and honestly about their feelings, do you think that has a lot to do with cultural upbringing and the home that they're raised in? Because sometimes some kids may not feel like they're in a safe environment where
Mhm.
they could express their feelings without being judged, without being scolded, or whatever, based on the home environment or their cultural background.
I do. And that's why I'm working on an adult book for forgiveness.
Okay.
There's, you know what, not to get too deep into the weeds, but there's and I'll get into this in my adult book, but there is scientific evidence that harboring anger as a child has a direct effect on your adult mental health.
Mm.
So I'm bipolar. I wear it on my sleeve. I tell everybody, hey, I got the gene, I'm bipolar. And you know what? I talked to my mentor who's been teaching me about forgiveness, Everett Worthington out of Virginia. And we talked about this and we talked about kids. And he said there's evidence that he's currently working on a paper that shows evidence that kids have better mental health as adults if they learn the life skills as children. And he's like, Robert, you did not have that life skill as a child. So your mental health as an adult was far worse than it should have been if you have had, if you would have had that life skill as a child.
Let's talk about the education system there, not to like go down the rabbit hole, but having that life skill as a child and that forgiveness and owning it. Do you think that not only should it start at home, but also the education system?
Yep, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
are you going to use your book to like try to push it into some of the education system? Because some places got rid of librarians. Like here where I am in the state of Texas, there were some schools that cut some librarians from primary school, well, elementary school, and so forth.
You know, I'm an independent author, right? I'm an independent publishing company. I have a very limited amount of resources. But what I am doing, and to follow up on your comment about librarians, I'm going to the National Librarian Conference in June in Philadelphia to pitch my book to 20,000 librarians to get it into the schools, to get it into the libraries. So this book is available to every child that wants it.
That is amazing, and congrats and kudos to you because I feel like not only do we need to harness these skills at home, but also in the school system because Some kids are dealing with bullies, they're dealing with gender identity, they're dealing with so many things nowadays. And, they're trying to put on these masks and they're not really showcasing who they are because if they show who they really are, they may get judged or ridiculed. So they're harboring unforgiveness in them. And then when you harbor unforgiveness, what does that turn into? Ugliness whenever you get
Hmm.
older and you mature and you start lashing out. But if you don't deal with the RCA, that root cause analysis, then
Hmm.
later on down the road, other people may pay for the resentment and unforgiveness that you're harboring. But if someone takes the time, like what you're doing, to show these kids, let's talk about life skills, let's talk about forgiveness, let's have grace, compassion, all of that stuff. If we get them early on, where would they be later on in life?
Absolutely. And I had about four beta readers for Molly's Big Red Kite. And they all said they were all parents of a 3 to 5 year old in that range. No 7 year olds. I tried, but you get what you only have so many friends to pull out of. Um, and so the beta readers all said this is a great book to bring the subject of forgiveness up. It's a great tool to have in your arsenal as a parent to teach a lesson. And I thought that was amazing feedback.
And I'm glad they gave you that feedback because just the short amount of time that we've been talking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to pick this up for, my children and talk to them about it. Even though, one is almost three and the other one is not even close to three. But just to instill those values early on about forgiveness, because like I said early on, I am guilty of harboring some unforgiveness and I am working on it. And I tell people I'm a whip without the H, so work in progress. Um, because sometimes it's not just necessarily to me, it's not that I don't necessarily forgive that person. It's like I just can't forget what they've done. The wounds are still there, and it's going to take me the internal healing to go through so I can get on the other side without saying, yes, I forgive you. But then the minute they do something, it just triggers the hurt all over again.
Hmm.
So it's like understand why do you feel the way that you feel? What did they do? Are you establishing boundaries? Are you maintaining those boundaries? And can you get past this situation? Or is it time to love that individual from a balcony? Is what I say. Like, I love you,
I
but I
love
don't.
that.
Yes.
Love them from a balcony is a perfect way because you forgiveness. I've had I've had people tell me, well, they've told me I'm crazy for a lot of things, but they disagree with me that forgiveness is an important skill to teach children. And I ask them why. They're like, because you're letting them off the hook. And that's not true. Forgiveness is about you and letting go of that pain, but not forgetting the pain, right? So you can forgive. Doesn't mean you need to re-engage. You can love them from afar. You can forgive them from afar, right? Doesn't mean you're getting back into the pig pen with them, right?
Right.
So that's the key. You had said something about setting boundaries,
Yes.
and that is key. Forgiveness is one of the boundaries that you can forgive them, but if you set the boundaries that you're not going to let them hurt you again, that's important.
Yes. And how can, okay, so in your book, because this is for the age ranges 3 to 5 or 3 to 7?
Well, the first book, Molly's Kite, is 3 to 7.
3 to 7, okay. And how
Okay. And then I have a second book coming out about Lucas and Molly's big misunderstanding that is 7 to 11.
11. Okay, yes, 7 to 11. So this is 3 to 7. And a 3-year-old is going to have a totally different mindset than a 7-year-old based on their development. How can
Hmm.
we encourage those kids to set boundaries? Because some people feel like, oh, kids, what do you know about boundaries? But in order to protect their feelings, they need to have boundaries for certain individuals. And I think it's acceptable for a young child to have boundaries.
Hmm.
So how can you teach them that while forgiving?
Yeah, so by talking about it, they're gonna ask questions, right?
Yeah.
Honesty. Don't treat them like a 3-year-old. You'd be surprised. I mean, don't get into, really deep topics, but you know, talk to them like they understand you because they do in their own way, and say, you know, if Lucas breaks your kite once and he helps you fix it, that's great. If he breaks your kite again, he didn't learn. So therefore, maybe don't let him play with your kite again. What's that? What's that saying? Hurt me once, shame on you. Hurt me twice, shame on me.
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay. Oh, bless you.
3 times a charm, y'all. I was
Yeah.
like, it's like fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you.
Right.
Fool me 3 times, and I forgot the true sentiment behind that one. But there's like a hip hop song that says "Fool me 3 times." It's the peace sign.
Hmm. Yeah. Peace out.
But I mean, this is so relevant to talk about it because, and not only is my allergies flaring up, but I'm also like tearing up too. Because when I was in school, I was a victim of bullying, and some of that stuff really, really hurt to the core.
Hmm.
But it wasn't until I started learning who I am and loving myself and seeing myself in a different light that I started to allow the invisible chains and shackles to shed and forgive those people that hurt me because I was really mean. I was really nasty and I wanted to get even like the movie Mean Girls because of what they did to me and what they said and how I went into like a minor depressive state where there was 9 consecutive days where I didn't go to school and I was so skinny. It was when this store was around called Booyaka and I was like a 000 in pants. And it was just because I was allowing the words of other people to play into my mindset and cause me to see myself in a different light. And it wasn't until my father, and God rest his soul, and he's been gone almost 5 years now, told me, you're not what people say you are. You're who God says you are. You
Hmm.
have to see yourself the way God created you. He created you wonderful. He created you in his image. You're a masterpiece. And he started to fill me up with affirmations and positivity. And as you're building those things up and you're hearing that positive self-talk, you start to diminish the negative talk.
Hmm.
But the other thing you have to do is to love yourself internally. And when you love yourself internally, it shows up that way externally. So now as a mom and looking at how I'm raising my kids, I'm very big on affirming my children and saying, okay, you're awesome and speaking life to them. But also I had to humble myself when I do something and I lose my cool with my daughter and I may snap or yell, I have to go to her and say, I'm sorry. Do you forgive me? Mommy didn't mean to talk to you that way. But it's in the heat of the moment whenever you just get worked up, you just say something. It's just that faux pas and word vomit that comes up.
Hmm.
But you're like, okay, I'm human too, but I don't want her to ever feel like I dismiss her or I don't care because then if I don't address it or acknowledge that I'm sorry, she's not going to forgive me, and that incident may carry into her adulthood. You never know how perception and projection can weigh in on a child.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You talk about bullying. That's my third book. Uh, my great niece, has striking red hair. And I wrote a book about how another girl who happens to have a facial birthmark is bullying Gianna for her red hair. And Mr. Oslo in the book comes down and says, "You both are special," and teaches the girls that they are both beautiful, regardless hair color, birthmark, weight, anything you can imagine. He talks to them about everyone has differences, and everyone's differences is what makes them beautiful. And that's why we are a world of differences, and that's why we are a beautiful world.
I love that. And it's the differences that make you unique and individually
Yes.
you. And once you embrace that, you harness your own superpowers.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
love that.
So as a mom, you're gonna have bad days. But you know what your superpower is? The ability to say, okay, mommy had a bad day and I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Asking for forgiveness is just as important as forgiveness of the other person because you are admitting you are in the wrong, and that speaks volumes for your character.
Thank you so much. And it's always, and it is hard to like apologize because you're like, here I am, an adult apologizing to a child, but it's also showing your child like, okay, if my mom can apologize to me, then I can apologize to others if I do
Mhm.
something wrong or whatnot. And then that's how the cycle of forgiveness, unforgiveness, how it goes. And it's like a revolving circle. So I really want to thank you just so much, Robert, for just sharing this on Molly's Red Kite. And I just love the graphic. Can you just hold it up again? Molly's
Sure.
Big Red Kite. And I want you to tell the audience where they could find this book, how they could plug in and continue to follow your journey.
It is available on all e-book stores. It is available on Amazon, free shipping on Amazon Prime if you're an Amazon Prime. Um, and you can also go to my website, robertpgraves.com, and there's a link to buy it directly from my printer, if you're not a fan of Amazon.
That is amazing. So robertpgraves.com. It's available on all digital copies as well
Yep.
as Amazon. And then if they wanted to get a personalized copy from you with like maybe an autograph, is that available?
Yeah, just visit robertpgraves.com, and at the bottom of the first page there's a contact me section. Just send me a note and I'll send you a personalized copy out.
That is amazing. And Robert, before we hop off, can you share with the audience one sentiment or quote that helps you carry out your day? I got you with that one.
You did, these questions are tough. No, anything by Dryer I love.
Okay, say it one more time.
Anything by his name is Wade Dryer.
Okay,
He's a
anything.
spiritual coach.
Oh, okay. So any of his work is what you
Yeah,
like.
yeah, I follow him. I read him all the time, and he's just amazing. Very insightful on life, and um, yeah, he's amazing.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll have to look him up. Way drier.
Yeah,
Okay. And then y'all for the Gemsters community out there, if you get a copy of this book, I would challenge you not to just buy one copy of Molly's Big Red Kite, but buy two copies. Keep one for yourself and share one with someone else who may be struggling with unforgiveness. And you never know how something as small as a book can open the doors for something big and emotional, like having a true, honest conversation. So that's my challenge for you. And I would also encourage you to follow Robert Graves on his journey so you could stay connected with not only this book, but the other books that will be coming out. The book for 7 to 11 years old, the book for adults on forgiveness, and so much more, because this is something that we all need and it takes a community. So if you like this segment, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. We're on 40 plus audio platforms, and the recording to this video is on YouTube. So just type Gems with Genesis Amaris Kemp. And last but not least, if you're interested in becoming a brand sponsor, please reach out to me via email. All of my contact information, along with Robert Graves, will be in the show notes. So until next time, signing out with peace, love, and lots of blessings. I hope you have yourself an amazing day. And remember, you're an asset, not a liability. You were created on purpose, for purpose. So don't ever let somebody tell you what you aren't and where you're destined to go. You control the narrative and be all that you can be.
Take
Signing
care.
out.
Bye bye.
Bye, y'all.